7 of the original Little Rock Nine are here today, and in a few moments they're going to come face to face for the first time in 38 years with some of those white students at Central High School who tormented them. That show was really, really significant and impactful for me because when I grew up, obviously, I'd read about them, and I, as a part of African American history, understood what had happened there. But watching the tapes and preparing for the interview, I realized how young they were. How young they were. And when I was in the 11th grade, would I have had the courage to do that? I don't know. 1957, Arkansas. The nation was riveted by the Little Rock Nine, 9 black teenagers who were set to integrate Little Rock Central High School. But it seemed the entire state of Arkansas meant to stop them. The governor called out the National Guard, not to protect the students, but to block their entrance to school. And threatening white students jeered them at every turn. Finally, the black students were allowed to enter the school through a side door, and the white mob erupted in a riot.
Mob rule cannot be allowed to override the decisions of our courts.
President Eisenhower sent over 1,000 members of the 101st Airborne Division to Little Rock to escort the students to school. This is Ann Burleson as she appeared in 1957. She was chanting the words 2468, we don't want to integrate. And Ann says she is now ashamed of that schoolyard chant. Jean Porter regrets being a silent witness to the crimes by fellow white students, including seeing them put thumbtacks on Melba's chair and also witnessing boys in gym urinating on the lockers of Ernest Green. And David Sontag came here today, he says, to apologize to Minnie Jean for an altercation in the cafeteria. What happened?
Oh, I went in the cafeteria and I'd sort of been dared by other kids, to retaliate for Minnie Jean for having poured chili on someone's head earlier. And so I did it. But it was not done out of hate.
Well, was it done
out of... It was just done out of ignorance, of not understanding her plight.
What's so interesting to me about that comment is that is the root of all racism, actually. And, years later, I can look at that tape and this is what's funny for me, is I can look at a tape and have the exact same response that I did when I was interviewing the people, and ask the same questions. And like a split second before I asked the question on tape, I'm thinking the same question in my head. But I understood that it was all because of ignorance, and that is the sole reason why the Little Rock Nine could move on with their lives and forgive. Because if it was just pure hatred, there'd be no way to forgive. But you understand that you just don't even know. It's the same thing Jesus said on the cross. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. They know not what they do. So you came here today, what?
I'm genuinely sorry for any negative things that I did at that time. I was really acting as a child that was not prepared.
And you are now here because you were ashamed.
Yes, I am. Mm-hmm. I knew Carlotta just because she had a locker close to me, and we would,
And that's how I recognized you off the bat.
I remember you. I remember your smile. I remember your eyes. I remember your catcalls. It used to get me coming out of English class, walking down the hall. You remember that? And I've never forgotten your name. I've never forgotten your name. Never, ever.
Was he not nice to you?
He was insidious because he was continuous. He was like relentless. He never gave up. It wasn't like he did this one day. It was like every day. And he never really hit or anything, but I always expected him to. And he was just always there. And he had the most vibrant eyes. And he really frightened me because every day he was there. Every day.
Does his apology mean anything to you?
I would like to come forward.
A lot.
Sure.
Yeah, it means a lot to us.
Don't worry about it.
I was raised in a racist family. And the main reason I want to be here today is to tell you how regretful I am for causing what should have been the best year of your life the most miserable. I went alone because I was afraid. You can't imagine for 38 years how badly I have felt. That does not do anything for what happened. That does not, I'm just sorry. I'm very sorry.
You were taught racism at home. Did you break that chain at home
broke
with your
that
children?
chain with my
And
children.
that's very, very key to me.
That's what I think I've done wrong.
Gene, are you sorry?
Yes, I am sorry. Certainly.
But did you feel powerless then?
I felt powerless. Also, peer pressure has a lot to do when you're at that age.
Well, and I think Gene represented probably the bulk of students that did nothing.
Right.
I mean, it was silence.
But you all say you remember Robin. I remember you saying that.
Well, Robin.
You remember Robin smiled because Robin befriended all
Robin
of
was
you.
one of the few faces that was friendly.
And many days when somebody's beating you in the back with a tennis racket and you're spitting up blood, or somebody's putting acid in your eyes, the only thing you got is a smile.
It's the great silence. It's the silence. It's the people who don't speak up. And if there's any lesson to be learned, now 30, almost 40 years now, Gene will admit he should have spoken up, and hopefully somebody watches this show and will be moved enough to stand up for something that's right.
To realize that these were just children. These were just children, and you look at that angry mob torturing and tormenting them as they come to school and leave from school, and tormenting and harassing them and saying just the most awful things, that every single thing around you, every single experience is set up to say that you are worthless and I am better than you are. And that they withstood that and withstood it with such dignity and such grace is the word. Made me feel that, first of all, I'm proud to have come from that, and if they have that, I must have some of that. I often in speeches say that people who've come before me were the bridges that I crossed over on, and the Little Rock Nine was a big bridge for me, because had that not happened, what happened in television 15, 20 years later could not have happened.